being recorded for the minutes. Get all your key stuff together. I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We'll declare the meeting open at 6:35 on March 18th. Okay. All right. Well, yeah.
Okay, so the first thing is Highway Department and Emergency Procurement. Jerry came to me, and he is here if you want to come forward, stating that he's had a couple of accidents with his vehicles and has concerns. So what I want to do is, if you'll allow me to read this into the record.
Sure.
Okay. His memo to me says, I have been forced to permanently remove from the Highway Department fleet 3 dump truck sanding units. 2 units will be taken out of service due to total frame failure. The 3rd unit was declared totaled by an insurance appraiser after being involved in a motor vehicle accident. The loss of these 3 units, if not replaced, will result in a public safety being compromised beyond what is required and expected. Therefore, I am making a request for an emergency purchase of 2 new cab and chassis, including the central hydraulic systems, plow, and plow frames. Old sanding units will be utilized on the new cab and chassis. The purchase of the new dump bodies are not necessary, as we have enough for our summer operations. The reason this request is for immediate funding is that there will be approximately 7 months of build time needed from the date of order. That would make it available for the beginning of the next winter operations. The snow and ice operations consist of 11 plow and sand routes. Each route has approximately 11 miles of road to cover. 2 additional trucks would allow for 1 spare unit to cover breakdowns. The bid price for the cab and chassis from the Tri-State Truck Center is $95,242,000. The price for central hydraulics plow and plow frames from J.C. Madigan is $36,700. Total per unit is $131,942. The total request is $263,884. We have had a conversation with the finance director, and we believe that we would be able to utilize Casella money to be able to do that. That is one-time money for capital purposes.
Okay.
And certainly there seems to me to be a related correspondence between being able to keep these roads clean and contamination and environmental. So it seems like a fairly worthy nexus.
Yeah.
So we would be looking, he's here to answer any questions that you have. We're here tonight to ask you to approve an emergency procurement.
What year on it?
One of them is a 94 International, and the other 2 are 96s. One of the 96s was involved in an accident.
Recently? Was it recently?
Yeah, it was one of the earliest snowstorms, probably a month ago.
Okay.
We've had it appraised. The value of that vehicle is roughly $5,000.
Okay.
But we do get to take the sanding unit off and the plow.
Okay.
So that's the savings there. But there was no value. If you're wondering why I had a loss of a truck and no replacement.
Yeah, no, there's no value
There's
in
no
that.
value there. The 296 Fords I've been running only because I took another 96 Ford out of action 3-4 years ago, and we've been cannibalized the truck.
Yep.
To keep these buzzes going. So the one that was involved in the accident actually would have been out of service anyway.
Right.
It just happened that they were doing that correct. No fault of the driver, by the way. I think that's important.
No, but if it ain't going to get hurt.
That's what I was going to ask. No one got
That's
hurt.
important.
No one got hurt.
Okay. That's the important part.
Got hurt, but
Yeah.
the accident was totally the fault of the operator.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't a resident. They hit the side of our truck.
Okay.
So no liability on the town there, but unfortunately the value of the truck wasn't there. That was the car.
Tri-State's proposing what, Freightliner?
They sell, the Freightliner is the truck line that we've gone with the last 4 or 5 times.
Okay. St. Powell plant, Cherry,
Same power plant.
and Allison.
Yeah. everything, there's nothing wrong with these trucks, they're very old.
Yeah, no, we have the same thing.
If we went with Max or something else, we're probably talking another 50,000, just, the purchase that I'm suggesting is without the dump body down.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we'll be saying, next year we'll switch and we'll put the bodies off the existing truck on them, let them sit aside.
Okay.
But we don't need 10 dump trucks, so. We're reusing the same about the trucks I'm taking out. Not a lot more I can say, we've got a lot of work to go over.
Yeah, you do a great job.
I had one truck go down, and I'm gonna find it. I actually had a storm this year, I had 3 go down in one storm. 2 of them were 2018, one was 2016. So these new ones, right, so it may be, not serious, but they're out of service.
Of course, I mean, that's
And that's
what
like 25 miles of road that I'm getting taken care of as soon as they need to be. This is tiring, I'm ready to see from my viewpoint.
So these trucks from 96 and 94, they've outlasted their lifetime. The ones,
More than.
We've got our money's worth.
the ones we're buying, what's the life expectancy on those?
Well, not to take up too much of your time.
No, I'd like to know.
These 96s were bought when we were in the other highway department, the other building. That was damp, terrible conditions, stored outside, inside. Had a lot to do, we couldn't clean them. Right now, I have a much better maintenance program. So to tell you how long they're gonna last, I couldn't, be honest, and give you a number, but I can tell you, it'll be a lot longer than.
Because they're not going to be exposed to the elements all
Well,
the time.
we do the maintenance, we wash them. Every storm, when we get a break, they go into the wash bay.
Okay.
The frames get washed. Every spring now, we treat them with a rust.
I was just gonna say fluid film or, yeah.
Things are done now that weren't done. I'm not blaming the leadership, they had nothing to really.
Right.
I was provided the resource to do it, and it's gonna pay off. I said that from the beginning, and I need it now. Anything that we put into vehicles is a good investment, other than the fact that it's a lot of money.
Yeah, but it's a good use of the money too.
The return is, you don't put a number on safety. And I got put in a position where safety to me was gonna be compromised terribly. I don't mean just, we have to work harder.
No, I appreciate your perspective on
That's
it.
where I'm coming from.
And I can assure you that my conversation with Jerry was, are you absolutely sure you cannot wait until town meeting to order this? And
No, because the given time on it.
If you're in September, you won't see it until now.
I haven't had a trouble. Oh no, it's part of my lawn that I believe you have in front of my vehicles. It does include a truck that I haven't received yet. That was ordered last October, and I've yet to receive it. It's usually possibly near a year before I get it.
Yeah, it's the same thing with us.
This time of year, if we put an order in, they're much slower at, say, the J.C. Managing Company.
Okay.
And they've assured me that if I get the order by April 1st, I'll have it somewhere in the December timeline, and that's very important.
Yep.
Get that done.
And Robin, how much funding do you have in the Casella?
$744,000. We've not used that. We've been trying to be very judicious about holding that for emergency and capital and things like this. I think we'll just try.
Other ones, this is a good use of the funds, since we have that much in there.
Yeah.
So my question, I certainly understand your need and the urgency, but my question is always about like procedure, process. Is this typically what happens? Because I had thought that you would go before FinCom actually, and then to us, because again, with one or two things kind of consistent.
That's a good question. Jerry is going to be going. We took a round of department heads to, that met with Finance Committee last Wednesday. As you know, tomorrow night you're going to be meeting with the school. And then, Wednesday night.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm still thinking
That's
tomorrow,
okay.
Tuesday night. Wednesday night you'll be meeting with the school, and then I think it's the following week that you're set to go before the Finance Committee.
But for an emergency procurement, it's usually you come here and see what happens. I've never handled, I don't think I've even been involved in one before. But
This is my first time I've ever come, but the situation has never been as dire. This actually, I just had 2 trucks turned out for stickers. They're out of service. They're not going to run again. I've never had 3 trucks be lost in one season.
So if this was a capital purchase on the capital plan, this would go before the finance committee, but because we already have the funding and the board of selectmen could make that decision, you can. I would never want to usurp the finance committee. I'm not sure if Jerry feels he can wait until his meeting with them, and we actually are fortunate to have one of the finance committee members sitting here in this room.
Well, we also, we technically are meeting jointly Wednesday, and that's something, they're calling the meeting, they could actually, I mean, I'd be willing to make the motion, but pending FinCom approval.
FinCom, that's fine.
They could maybe discuss, that sort of stuff. I think that's a fair compromise.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all right with you?
I'm willing to make the case anyway.
Okay. No?
That's where I go.
We're both posted for Wednesday, so that's.
So what I can do tomorrow morning is adjust the agenda and add him up to the front, so we can just try to gather everybody up in the front end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll check with Jerry to see if that would be acceptable to him.
Okay. Jerry Noble.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we do that, pending the finance committee, so if somebody wants to make a motion.
Go ahead. I make a motion that we approve make sure I get the number right, $263,884 for the purchase of the 2 trucks for the highway department as presented here.
Mr. Foskett.
If I could add, did I use is that right? What was the number?
263,884.
Oh, I thought you said 284, I'm sorry.
No, so $263,884.
Correct.
Second, pending FinCom approval. FinCom approval.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you. And one other question, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great we have this money in the seller account and how that's done, but this should be, what would happen if we didn't have that money? Where do we go? Where do we get the funding? So we should have some kind of emergency capital. I don't know. I'm just curious.
I'll defer to the town administrator when you've had emergency problems before, and with no cash in any reserve accounts like this. How have you guys handled it before?
What would have to be is call a quick special meeting. And you can call on it if we need it. Unless it's within the finance committee's reserve fund amount, but something this large, yes, we might have to do that. We have talked about putting money into a general capital, but we only talked about maybe 50,000, and now we've now talked about holding 300,000. That might be something that we look at.
Robin will let you know what's going on Wednesday.
We'll see you on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Can I have I gave you quotes, just in case you wanted to take a look at them.
Yep.
I will take them with me so that I can show them to FinCom in case they want to
Take
see
that
them.
to it and write on it.
Okay, yes, you want this in the paper?
Great, thank you.
Save a couple of trees. Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I told them at the end of the meeting about it. Joe wasn't there, but I did tell them it was coming and it was an issue. I just don't remember. I didn't have a number. So that didn't, it was a different one. But you are right. I did try to inform them. Jerry didn't. I think I mentioned it to them, that it was coming.
I question my memory every day.
Mm-hmm. Town meeting articles.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the back too. This is what I handed out to you.
Thank you.
You had asked me some questions about timing the town clerk with Article 1. You have your regular meeting on the 26th. She needs any language for referendum questions by the 27th.
Okay.
So you need to take a look at whether or not you're moving this question forward. And then there was another question about moving forward the public safety building debt exclusion. My recommendation would be not to move that forward now, but to wait till after town meeting, get their direction. Sometimes it's much better if the town has an opportunity to see the whole presentation before they're asked to go to the ballot. So we could take care of that by a quick special town meeting if it passes.
Okay, so my question on question one was and this is going to be more for Jonathan, and we can ask him before we go into executive session, is with the land court saying you couldn't use a general bylaw to for the marijuana issue, for where the town has typically used zoning to do it. Is this question, so this is a two-part thing, is this a moot point with this question? And then Patsy, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have a zoning article going on about banning marijuana.
It's the exact one that you guys voted to put on that the timeline was this at the last time.
Okay, yep.
So we just, I'm going to hear that and pretty much no changes, just let it go through because that's what you guys had voted.
Okay, and so you would have two questions on the ballot. One, and this is, like I said, we have to talk to council about this. My feeling would be not to do question one as you know, the general question, because the court has already said don't use that to do your marijuana. And you have a zoning article on there that's basically doing the same thing, correct? Okay.
Now, was that, if I can ask, was that because the Board of Selectmen had moved it forward, is why the planning board is bringing it forward now? Or is the planning board initiating that? Because I guess I'm asking because we didn't come back to the Board of Selectmen to ask them if they wanted to sponsor this article again.
I didn't see the vote rescinded, so I just assumed because the time that was missed, we weren't able to have, you guys asked
Correct.
we weren't able to have the public meeting in time.
We dropped the ball on that. That had nothing to do with the planning board. We lost sight of it.
We just decided to sponsor it ourselves because many of the residents of the town have been asking us to do so.
Okay. So, Bill?
I apologize, I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it is a true meeting. It's just minimal.
I totally will. So I'm curious if based upon the planning board's sponsorship of the zoning article at the town meeting, would it be worthwhile to, depending upon the language obviously, to still have a ban, a referendum ban on the ballot, but have it as part of the zoning article and not the general bylaw, meaning that on May 4th, you would vote potentially to say, well, we want to ban marijuana as a zoning piece, and then at town meeting on the 20th or so, I think the 20th, to have the second bit of it that could potentially pass it on and go forward. Because I suppose the alternative is that if it passes at town meeting, then possibly as part of a special town meeting or something like that, then you still have to have, as part of a special referendum for hopefully the public safety complex, you would put it on then. Because regardless, it's still a two-piece vote, whether it's a general bylaw or whether it's a zoning bylaw, that you still need both town meeting and the ballot.
No, for the zoning, it's only one zoning, it's just town meeting.
Not for ban.
Really?
Not if you're a yes.
If you're a yes, town, it has to.
Okay, you're right. I forgot that they had that in there. You asked that. No.
So, I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility that it may be worth it to put the zoning referendum on the May 4th ballot and tie it to the town meeting zoning. And again, everybody's grandfathered, everyone.
Yeah, no, it's just.
So that would, I think, kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, but I think we're putting the cart before the horse because the zoning marijuana ban will not be voted on until town meeting.
Correct. So I
And
suppose
this question, this referendum question,
Yep.
has been declared moot by the courts.
Right, I'm saying kill that one off for general
Right,
bylaw
that's, okay, yeah.
and replace it with a zoning variance.
It's the same language.
You can't vote a zoning variance at the poll because it's
No.
It's the same language.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I suppose what I'm saying is, depending upon the language, I haven't seen it, is really to still go forward with it, knowing that it's not tied to the general bylaw, which was declared null and void, but rather tie it to the town meeting zoning ban on a go forward. Because one way or another, because we're in a yes town, that it needs 2 votes in the affirmative. And the question is, do you do the town meeting first, and then at a later date, do a special referendum? Or do you do the special referendum first?
No, I think it has to be the town meeting vote and then the ballot vote. I think that's the way it's written.
So I have it right here.
Go ahead.
This goes back, I just carry this around with me, it's like my Bible. I'm quoting the MMA Best Practice Series, January 2018, Volume 3, Number 2, MMA Policy Committee on Municipal and Regional Administration Best Practice Recommendation, Recreational Marijuana Strategy. In its third paragraph, it says, the Office of the Attorney General has recommended that cities and towns act as quickly as possible in the local decision-making process. Where did I want to go? Municipalities that choose not to pursue prohibition of recreational sales or other facilities are still advised to pursue and implement proactive zoning policies prior to the date. That's not what I wanted either. Okay, here we go. Municipalities have the right to zone for location of cannabis facilities as well as determining the time, place, and manner of operations. This can include operations, advertising, zoning, locations. Those communities wishing to create distinct zoning locations or districts for either recreational facilities or cultivation facilities separate from existing allowances, commercials, as quickly as possible.
I've never read anything that actually talks around the claim of the city. And I think like a lot of communities do debt exclusion in the same way, that some have the vote, have the ballot vote before the town meeting, others have the town meeting beforehand. I think no matter what, it's probably fine. It's just, I'm just thinking to potentially save time and information, but knowing that the town meeting is 2/3, maybe it's worth it. I know John is here, so no time.
So, on the ballot, we had from the original land case court that just went through with the general bylaws. It was a 2-part item. One was the vote that was taken at town meeting, and then they wanted to put on a question, a referendum question: shall the town of Charlton ban marijuana? And that was just on the general bylaw. So in the meantime, the planning board, at our request, had drawn up a article on banning a zoning bylaw banning marijuana, and Patsy is moved. The planning board's moving that forward. They're the ones that are that are sponsoring it. The question is, because we are a yes town, we have to have 2 votes, which I did not realize. So we have to have the town meeting vote, and then we have to have the question on the ballot. Which way is the cat before the horse?
We have to have July.
Which one is normally or should be done first? Or does it?
More typically would be have the town meeting vote and then the ballot vote, because if it doesn't pass the town meeting, once you have, if you were to put the ballot question on your upcoming election, then whatever happened at town meeting would not affect, it would still be on the ballot. You can't take something off the ballot once it's on the printed. You know, anyone takes one, says an absentee ballot or something. So what most towns do is they start with the town meeting vote. If it passes, then they call a special election for the question.
Okay.
So if I may, Mr. Chair. So in the fall, we voted to move it forward, because it was requested by the citizens.
Right.
Miraculously didn't get the timeline done in time, so we couldn't make it for the fall election. We're interested in including it on the ballot, it's too complicated. Here comes the town election, now we're gonna say, well, we're not gonna have it here. Now we got a town meeting vote. When would you intend to call an election?
Whenever the board decides. And I would not be, if it passes at town meeting, I would not be against having the town vote on it, right away.
Okay.
So.
I could call an election within 35 days.
Yeah. So that's not, I don't view that as a problem, and I don't think the rest of the board members do.
If it's not voted at the town election, meaning it doesn't pass, then you wouldn't vote it at the town meeting either. So it's chicken and egg. It seems like
Excuse me.
you two have to make a whole.
I think that, if I may,
Okay.
the referendum question is based on a general bylaw.
No, I think he's talking about,
No?
Joe's talking about with the zoning bylaw.
Okay, the one that's on page 2. So if that one passes, Section 200-5.21 zoning ban marijuana, if that passes by more than a 2/3 vote at the town meeting, then we could hold a special election 35 days later. Okay.
Okay, but
So,
But this is.
I know what you're saying, Joe.
But
It doesn't matter which way you do it.
Okay, so.
It's a lock and a key.
Yeah.
So if you have the election, since it's, I know the ballots haven't been printed yet, but you can have the election and know, one way or the other, it's not going to be enforceable. We know that. It's already been said at the AG layer. It's not enforceable without the zoning being limited.
Right.
And then it's not enforceable anyway because you have people that are grandfathered in.
Right.
Right? But ultimately, you now understand the will of the town and
Yeah, what we're discussing.
through the chair, I would also add, we voted to do that. We voted for that ballot question to move forward.
Correct.
So we cannot just take no action unless we either have to vote to rescind that, or we have to do it because the board voted to do it.
We have I don't think anybody here has any problem with moving forward with the planning board article on zoning to ban marijuana. I think the discussion is just that, the discussion on how we're going to do it. Joe brought up a good point, which I can see the merits in that. I have no problem with putting it on the ballot and then bringing it to town meeting. If it doesn't pass at the ballot, then it's a moot point even at town meeting.
well, so correct me, but theoretically, if it fails at the ballot and then passes at town meeting, you could
Put it back on the ballot.
Yeah, I wouldn't personally recommend it because I think it will have voters have said at that point. But I think one of the arguments that was made in the fall was that it wanted to be delayed until it was a municipal election to get the greatest input from folks. So I suppose that's my, for lack of a better word, argument, saying why it might be better to put it on the May 4th election to say that's when people will go out, as opposed to the special town meeting in which it really is pure special interest at that point. So, I think it's half dozen on fifth of another, because, Joe's right, you still need both, and you call a special election after, or do you stick with it to say, theoretically, more people come out on an annual election, and you might get better representation, so, it doesn't call either way, you guys.
Patrick.
Isn't it cheaper, if people are going to come out and vote anyway, because it's printing up the ballot, isn't it much more expensive to do something later again, just to do it, the cost?
Yeah, there's more cost to it, you're right. And this, like I said, this is a discussion. Everybody has, which there's been good points made. I really don't have one, it doesn't matter. We're going to take a vote.
I guess I was just confused. I thought this referendum question was going to go on as a general bylaw question, but it is not.
No.
It will go on as a zoning
It
question.
needs to, so here's,
Okay.
so I'm going to look to our town administrator for some direction on this. to do that, okay, we're gonna need some advice from town council, I believe, on how the question how it has to be worded and go on the ballot so that we can give it to the town clerk.
This is not gone before, Attorney Cosgrove with this sign yet, until I could get down and write down what you want. My hope is that will be all completed, you'll have the exact language by the 26th.
Well, for the course, it has to go on as a zoning bylaw.
Well, you have a zoning bylaw, and that's why I had put it in here, because I was aware that they were going to put a zoning bylaw, so you have both. You have both at this election.
So I guess we're gonna have to have Jim
Just confirm.
and work on the wording on with the ballot question that, you know, are we gonna so there's a bunch of stuff he's gonna have to look at. Are we going to reference the zoning bylaw that it's also gonna be a town meeting?
You have to.
Yeah,
The ballot question has to include the actual language of the bylaw.
Okay.
And the actual language of the bylaw is very short. Citing the statute, all marijuana establishments at time 14. Are hereby
So if you put it on the ballot and then it dies, then you could still vote on it at town meeting.
But it wouldn't have your way.
Or you could just motion to bypass it, to basically, just to table it indefinitely. Those are two options.
Yeah.
We can get the right language in time.
I'm sure that we
As long as it goes on as a zoning bylaw.
Okay. So do we need a motion to do that?
To have Mr. Cosgrove work with the language.
Just directing me to
Okay, just to direct.
put this on there.
Okay.
Okay, so it's,
Motion.
yep. Looking at this.
Are you done with your portion of it? Okay. So there were two, Tamara, you were all, I don't know what you saw, the emails and stuff. There were two citizens petitions that came in. One was from Mrs. Benjamin on the planning board, and it was specific, and then there was one from, and Patsy, I believe yours was, okay, and Patsy's was very explicit in what she wanted also. As the board had decided, probably 4 or 5 years ago, all articles that are going on the warrant go to Jim, except for the zoning bylaw articles. The planning board always had the professional town planner take care of their stuff. Jim has opined on the two articles. I believe everybody has read them. I believe he shared his opinion with you, Patsy, and he shared it with Mrs. Benjamin also. David, at our last meeting when we were talking about this, wanted to make sure that the petitioners had the chance to talk to Jim and change the language of the petitions so that they would be less personal and that they, if he could work with them to change them so that he could give a recommendation to put them on the ballot, at town meeting. And that hasn't happened as far as I know, according to Jim. Nobody has gotten back to him. Patsy has sent him an email. So that's where we are right now. Right now, we've held up putting these two articles
I did see the back and forth, and my understanding is Jim now does this for us because of the new policy that we are asking him to kind of help with the wording for that. So I have a couple of comments. I personally think, and I did look this up, I actually called Galvin's office too, and I'll share this with you. I don't think we should ever block citizens' petitions. I think we are simply a pass-through, And I will share this, it's Mass General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 10. You will notice it says, it does not say, it says the selectmen shall insert in the warrants for the annual meeting all subjects the insertion of which shall be requested of them in writing by 10 or more registered voters of the town, and in the warrant to every special town meeting all subjects. It goes on, and if you read it through, it doesn't say, and I've looked over many things to talk to people that we can, can deny it. The town of Weston actually has, it's like a 6-page policy procedure that it gives to the residents to help them, even like when they're at the town meeting, what to do, what to go up and say. A nice form. It's amazing. The template they have is really very good. And they call it one of their accepted appropriate subjects for a town meeting. Both citizens petitions, I think, fall under what's considered a resolution, which is indeed an appropriate subject for a town meeting. So I know Jim had some concerns about us putting it on there, but I think we should be more concerned if we don't put it on there. Because we don't, let me just finish. I understand town meeting can't direct us what to do, but it's more of a resolution, not, we can say, well, we can take action, won't take action, but I think according to this MGL, we don't really have a choice with it on there.
Thanks. So last year, I had a chat with Attorney Cosgrove before town meeting, before any of this Michigan came up. And I talked to him about some of the petitions that were coming up. And I asked him, I said, if we know that somebody's putting forth a petition that holds no merit, that is invalid on its face, do we have an obligation, regardless of how ridiculous it is, to put it on town warrants and have it be voted on? And what Jim said to me was this. He said, Deb, if somebody brings forth a petition that says all white dogs have to be painted with pink polka dots, and it has 10 signatures, you should put it up there. No matter how ridiculous it is, you have an obligation to do that. And frankly, as ridiculous as I see these things being, I will put them up there. Because that's the law, and I follow the law. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. So what's the board's wishes on the warrant? Do we have to close it? I don't think, I will just...
If I can, excuse me, John, may I? Like you have a choice.
I've been married 40 years. It doesn't change, Joe.
As long as, like with Noble...
We're going to have a meeting after.
If everyone has followed, everything they've got their signatures, the signatures were certified, and everything was submitted on schedule. Did you meet all the criteria?
Chances are Mrs. Benjamin is not going to put hers on, okay? And that's only because she went to Costco first and she didn't get signatures.
Oh.
So and that's the way you should probably do it, because Kristen did hers that way. For the recall.
Was the Cosgrove first rather than the clerk? When you go to the clerk first?
No,
not the language.
No, the language he went to Cosgrove first.
Okay.
On how to do it, especially because of special legislation. And then Patty Benjamin, I believe, did the same thing. And he, and she didn't have signatures. Patty had done hers, and then it ended up at Cosgrove's after that. So we don't have to close this yet?
No, we don't have to close the show.
Okay.
Do we need to motion to allow those two?
No, we don't have to close it yet.
We'll wait till the 26th then.
I'd rather...
Okay, but I'd rather have a discussion so that everybody gets all their stuff out and we can think about what we want to do.
Something like this, I think we do need a full board.
They're as close to a full board as we're going to get.
This is true.
I think you might be there now. Anyway. All right. With that,
Okay.
we're done.
Yep.
Yeah. that, want to get Rob?
And before we go into, are we going into executive session?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, but I don't know if the chairman of the planning board wanted to make a statement. I know regarding why you denied coming to the meeting.
That's fine. Come on up, Catherine.
So I know that there's been a lot of emails from the residents to kind of administrative back and forth.
Mm-hmm. And to the board.
It
all gets forward. It all gets forward.
So, and what I've been getting back is that we were offered this big opportunity to come to this executive session, and we denied. And I just wanted, and I kind of, we denied because we're asking for counsel in appropriate reason to go into session to discuss strategy, but our strategy is different from your strategy. Mm-hmm. So the only reason we would want to go to, meet with you is to be given counsel. So it seems inappropriate. We didn't want to break open meeting law to go and discuss that you would or wouldn't be giving us counsel. It just didn't feel it was the correct thing to do.
So I think what is going to be discussed, I believe, tonight is the strategy and what the courts have decided on with all the councils that are involved already. I think it would have benefited you guys if you could have heard that along from our council. I can't tell you how to run the planning board. You're a duly elected board. But I think that it's a missed opportunity for you to have seen the thinking on pretty much all of the councilors. So, that's the way I feel. I don't know.
I did listen to the whole audio. I've been keeping very, very, very close. Mm-hmm. I'm acting as a counsel. Mm-hmm. So it appears that a strategy has already been set. It appears that has actively working against our decision. Clearly, and I have the audio on.
No.
Excuse me. Did you just say you have the audio of the court's conference call on your phone?
All right. Hold on.
It's public information.
All right. So, okay. Go ahead. Relax and just say. It's stressful as it is, Kathy. I know it is.
Listening to the audio, I feel that a strategy has already been determined, and it really would be a waste of my whole entire board's time to come and hear that the strategy is to consolidate and to work against our decision.
So I think that you have drawn conclusions on things that haven't happened yet. Okay. First of all, we as a board have never met on this. Okay. And what we did is we've taken advice from counsel on what he and the other lawyers have come up with on what court to have everything in and how they want to proceed and including the opponents and not only the proponents but the opponents agreed that they would rather wait until you had your subdivision vote and then see where all the chips lie, and then they would move on forward from there. So that, Jonathan?
Yeah, maybe I can just shed some light on a couple of issues. It's not been a secret that my direction all along has been to, and this is from well before the planning board issued its decision. So it wasn't initially a direction to oppose the planning board's decision. It was a direction to support the determination of the building commissioner, the zoning enforcement officer. Mm-hmm. I think that was an appropriate determination by this board to make and an appropriate direction to give me. I have never suggested, and I think in all I indicated to the chair, that I agreed with the planning board's determination that it would make sense for me to continue with the do that. So I agree that I would not be an appropriate person if the board were to decide to appoint counsel to the planning board. It should not be me. I have never suggested it should be. The decision of whether to appoint counsel for the planning board is for the board of selectmen to make. That's a policy decision. And that's one that I think the board of selectmen wants to discuss in executive session, because necessarily it involves discussion about the merits of the appeal of the planning board's decision, which you don't want to have a frank discussion of in open session, because that is only going to give fodder for those who are challenging the planning board's decision. So you don't want to have that discussion in executive session. I certainly disagree that it would be an open meeting clause violation to discuss in an executive session. It's the very purpose of the executive session litigation exception that allows for litigation strategy, those exact types of determinations, whether or not the board thinks it's a good use of town dollars to appoint counsel for the planning board, makes total sense to have an executive session. I have not said anything to the land court other than what, very publicly, I had said previously, based upon the Board of Selectmen's direction, is that I have been tasked with defending the claim against the town. So I would certainly disagree that my role as directed by the Board of Selectmen has ever been to oppose the planning board. Since well before the planning board made its decision, my role, my direction from this board has been to defend against a claim against the town by someone who has sued the town on a number of occasions to continue to defend the town against a lawsuit against the town by someone who had previously sued the town. And I think that's totally appropriate. And I would disagree with any characterization of anything I said to the land court as being, quote unquote, against the planning board. I am defending the town in litigation brought against it. I am defending the building commissioner in litigation brought against it. And I guess I would just note one other thing, only because I think it's important for you to know for yourself. I'm certainly going to make an issue of it. At one point during the court conference, at the beginning, the court asked if anyone else was on the line, other than counsel, and no one indicated they were. Certainly no one indicated that they were tape recording the conversation. And I think that's just something that needs to be carefully considered. And I guess I'll just leave that.
And I can understand, I just want to bring something up there. Go ahead.
By defending her opinion, which is not even a legal opinion, it's automatically going against the planning board. That said, we would be sitting in a room with your board and your council and us planning board members, accountants, retirees, and our board, we'd be sitting in a room with you and your council, and we would not have counsel,
But it's not our council. It's the town's council. Okay, it's the town's council. It's a town employee. It's being a town department head that's being sued by somebody. So, and this was before you even made your decision. Okay, so that's why Jonathan is defending Kirk. Okay, you guys have your opinion on why you think it's non-allowed use. Frank is going to use that opinion, okay, to say that even the planning board thinks that this is non-allowed use, okay, and it's going to be up to VGG to say that why they believe it's an allowed use. Not even, it's so that's the first thing. But there's a perception that the individual members of the planning board are being sued, and it's good to have Jonathan here. I'm going to go back to when I first got on the zoning board of appeals. Millennium was going on at that time, and I was put on. I was asked I was appointed to the zoning board of appeals. So I go to 2 meetings for the zoning board of appeals, and all of a sudden I got the sheriff dropping something off for me, at the door. So Michelle says, "What the hell did you get into?" I says, "I have no clue." I said, "Let me call Mr. Merzenblad and find out what I've gotten into." So I call Merzenblad up. "Don't worry about it." He says, "Cosgrove's taking care of it." I said, "What is it?" So I did reach out to Jim Cosgrove, and Jim told me, he said, "John," he said, "the town," he said, "and the planning board are being sued." He said, or the zoning board of appeals. And he said, they list out the names of the members of the board, okay? He says, but they're not personal, you are not personally being sued. He said they're suing the town. But the flip side of that is that if somebody brought a civil suit against you or any other member of the planning board, that gets turned over right away to the insurance company, and we ask for defense of a civil suit under the conditions of our insurance policy, and they supply counsel for that, and that's how that works. Okay, so if you could please relate to the board members, and because I know how I felt when I was served with paperwork.
Did you have an attorney represent you when you were served papers? Because that's the difference. If I had Mark here saying, "All right, Patsy, good job, I'm going to take it from here," we would feel much better, but we don't have that.
But you do have that, okay?
We don't.
Yes, you do, because you have the town is. I'm just trying to think this out. The town is being sued, okay, and the strategy that is we have to still work out is that we will allow we can either appoint counsel, or we can allow the two sides to argue it out on with their lawyers on what's going to happen, and that's where we are now.
6 months of hearings till 11 o'clock, and I'd probably say over 10 hours a week for me just studying plans and doing the research. And as an elected official, I feel that I should be putting my everything into making sure that our decision, because we're an elected board, is defended at its best. So letting everybody duke it out. We're already spending tons of money on attorneys as it is. So letting everybody just duke it out and letting us sit back is
So I'm gonna maybe turn to you, Jonathan, on the strategy that has been used with FILCA and 508. Okay.
I don't want to get into litigation.
Okay, all right.
But let me say this.
Okay.
The two most commonly used land use statutes in the state, the Zoning Act and the Subdivision Control Law, both require that when decisions get appealed, the members of the board be named. The reason for that is not to create any exposure for the individual members of the board, but rather to make sure that the individual members of the board have notice of it. Because particularly back when those statutes were adopted, but even today in a lot of communities, there are many communities that don't have professional staff, that maybe have part-time staff, and so the idea is by requiring that each member of the board be provided a copy of the complaint and be named in the complaint, only in their official capacity, that there would be adequate notice of the appeal. There is absolutely zero personal exposure or liability. You're only named in these appeals as a member of the board in your official capacity. When someone, and it's happened to some people in this town, when someone, as the chair noted, gets named individually, whether it's in a some sort of intentional tort claim or a civil rights claim, that's a very different situation. It's obviously a situation that no one wants to be in, but it's very different from the fact that you, as members of the board, have to be listed by statute to require that you be listed in the complaint. That's all that is. In terms of the strategy, I hate to sound like a lawyer, but I am. I really don't feel comfortable discussing that in public session.
And that's fine. So if your strategy involves assigning us to, let us get an attorney, let me know, because we're ready to go finally. Thank you.
But don't leave, because I want to add a couple of things. So, the chair, you know this. Part of my frustration has been since all of this has happened, since we turned into, the friendly lawsuit is not so friendly anymore since the decision of the planning board. And they are, again, the named defendants. I get what you're saying, Jonathan. But as a peer, as someone who has been reaching out saying that we should meet, we should discuss, and I do believe had we did this early on, we could have avoided a lot of what has transpired. And quite honestly, the action that has been taken by you, with all due respect, John, as the chairman, without consulting with the peers, your peers, because I look through, like, the planning board minutes. I've been doing a lot of readings. I go from looking at the extension that was March 6th extension to quotes in the planning board minutes, where Robin stated that the Board of Selectmen had said they just wanted to wait until after this. I keep reading the Board of Selectmen has said
It was not the Board of Selectmen.
It was not the Board of Selectmen.
It was not the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen has never met on this. Okay?
But yet,
and there was a reason for that. Okay? And the reason was on the advice of counsel, and we did tell the members of the board what was going on. We did not meet on it, but we did let the board members know what was going on. And the night that those decisions were made, it was not just the town of Charlton's choice on how to handle this, and that was the problem, Karen. The problem was that there were three parties involved in this. There was the opponents, there was the town's lawyer that is working on Kurt's defense, Jonathan, and there was VGG. And they were deciding how to handle it. We could not make a decision, a good decision, until we had all the information. And there was nothing to talk about in executive session or anything at that point in time.
Actions were taken, and the extensions were given, and consolidations were discussed, or whatever. But we, the planning board, or the rest of the board, didn't direct you to direct our attorney to do any of that. So you were acting...
No. The attorney, wait a minute.
The Board of Selectmen does plan on doing exactly what it says, which is that they will deal with this after the 6th. When did the Board of Selectmen say that?
The Board of Selectmen, had Jonathan working this, so I think we're getting into strategy a little bit here.
No, that's right. This is actually, I think we get in trouble.
Go ahead, John.
I can clarify exactly what happened. First of all, no actions were taken. The court made very clear, the land court, from the very first scheduling conference, the summer judgment hearing, that it felt that all the appeals relative to this project, and it's something courts do all the time, it's a matter of what's called judicial autonomy. It doesn't make sense to have 2 or 3 different courts dealing with 2 or 3 different lawsuits, all of which relate to the exact same property, the exact same parties, the exact same project. So the land court said early on, it wants to have everything in under its purview. The reason the site plan decision was filed, or appeal was filed in Worcester, is simply a function of the fact that the town's bylaw requires that appeals be filed in Worcester Superior Court. It, I don't think, was intentional. I wasn't at that town meeting, but I think chances are it wasn't to exclude the land court, which generally has jurisdiction over zoning. I think it's just sort of a quirk of the bylaw that no one anticipated happened. So it was filed in Worcester Superior. It was requested to be transferred. Attorney Bennessy didn't complain about it when it was discussed early on in the land court case. No one did, because frankly, it only makes good sense. That being said, no action was taken by me on behalf of the town with respect to that. That wasn't my request to transfer. It was a request by VCG. It's certainly one I think makes sense, and I didn't hear Attorney Tennessee contest it either. So, no action was taken on that. With respect to the extension, again, the only thing I did, because I knew there was a concern about default, a potential default from the board. And although VCG's counsel told me, don't worry, I'm not going to default the planning board because the Board of Selectmen has not yet discussed appointment of counsel to the planning board, I said, well, I think everyone would be more comfortable if you put that in writing. That's all I did. There wasn't any sort of extension agreement. My agreement was not required. VCG has the absolute right to extend. All it did was say, we're not going to try to default the planning board. So that, to the extent it's anything, it's just, sort of a acknowledgement and a courtesy that even though litigation is people arguing with each other, lawyers try to be courteous with one another and with opposing parties, and that's what that was.
Mr. Chair, we didn't know any of this was going on until after the fact. And the only reason we know is that at one point the town administrator went, here's the emails, and we saw the whole trail of emails of all the discussions over like a series of couple weeks, back and forth, and then here you go. That was just, I think the process was really, really bad. Mm-hmm. So all of this back and forth, this nastiness that kind of resulted in us kind of completely being left out of the loop, completely. I mean, we got tons of time, let's figure this out, and it could have been just you and I, or it could have been, it got so nasty. Again, we knew nothing what was going on, and then all of a sudden, it's extended.
So, Patsy, I believe that you should probably talk to Ross Wolanski, because I did keep Ross in the loop what was going on, because I know he works for himself, and I was not going to interfere with your work. I don't know how close I try not to do anything while I'm at the state, okay, that involves here, unless I take time off, okay? So you probably want to ask Ross, okay, what I conveyed to him, okay, at the start of all this, okay, and I did keep him in the loop. So just...
And I have a few, every time
please,
I truly I have every single text, but a sentence really didn't. This was well more than a quick conversation or a text back and forth.
Well, again, for the chair, part of my frustration was bring everyone to the table and let everyone know what's going on. The clock was ticking. You got it to the thing. It was 20 days to respond. I can only imagine what you were going through, and with no attorney. Meanwhile, I get that you talked to Ross, but is that really a best practice? I mean, hindsight, right? If we had this to do it all over again, it's that game of telephone. The message is going to get twisted and turned in different directions. It's, in my opinion, not the best way to convey and keep the other board
Put this way, if I was to do this again, it would be done differently. Absolutely. Okay. There were mistakes made, positively. But okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Pat. Thank you. Hey, Jean.
Are we going to go into executive session?
Yeah, we're going to go into session. You want a motion?
Do I have to read the whole thing?
Unless Karen, do you have something else to say?
No, I don't have the thing to read, so.
Oh. Yeah, it's on here.
It's on the agenda.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation, and meet with special counsel to discuss litigation regarding Valley Greenville and to hear recommendations and take actions if needed, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares, and to return to open session if needed, and to adjourn. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. We're now in executive session.
You know,